This is really important to me. What is it? What's she gonna say? Okay. Something that is really beautiful about ritual is that literally the only thing you need is you and your intention. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Sarah. I own a company called Ritualumi, which offers ritual boxes, kits, and oils. And I started my company because I really believe in the power of ritual to infuse our daily lives with meaning, intention, and presence. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a process for how to create your own rituals. So the first thing to do is to align with your desire or your purpose for creating the ritual. Why are you doing it? What's your desired outcome? Another great thing to ask yourself during this phase is this a ritual that you want to do every day? Is this something that you're trying to fit in, in 10 or 15 minutes before you go to work, 5 minutes before you go to work, 5 minutes before you go to bed, in which case you may want it to be short and sweet so that you'll have time to fit it in? Or is it a ritual that you want to create to really honor something that feels big to you? So a great next question to ask yourself is, how do you want to feel while you're doing the ritual? Is this a bright, cheerful, fun ritual? Is this a motivating ritual? Is this a respectful, reverent, serious ritual? Or is this like a stress relieving and relaxing ritual? Third question, where would you like to do your ritual? Do you see yourself outside under a favorite tree, at the top of a mountain, in your backyard, in front of your fireplace at home? Some things to consider when you're deciding where you want to do your ritual. One, do you want to have an altar set up? Because if you want to have an altar set up, it might be easier to do it indoors. It's totally not necessary. I myself have brought crystals, smoke sticks, whatever, outside with me in the car, and so you absolutely can bring an altar with you. There are even travel altars, but if you're wanting to set up a really big elaborate ritual, and especially if it's something you want to have set up ahead of time, or it's something you want to revisit every day, if it's going to be for a daily ritual, you might want to have your ritual indoors. And then the second question is your ritual related to connection with nature? So is this a moon ritual? Is this a calling in of the elements, or just a ritual that helps you reconnect with the earth or yourself as a part of nature? Something that I think is really beautiful about ritual is that literally the only thing you need is you and your intention. So that's just an important point. You don't have to have anything. This is an optional aspect, but it's something that having beautiful, meaningful objects as part of your ritual can really enhance the process. And because the process of ritual is an externalization of an internal journey, it is nice to have things that you do externally to guide the internal process. That can be literally anything. It can be jewelry from your grandmother. It can be a gift that someone gave you that you really loved, a poem someone wrote you, a stone that you picked up at the beach. It can be crystals that you've bought or been given. It can be some flowers that you've gathered or grown. So just gather some tools and objects that feel like they support the process of what you're trying to create with this ritual. Also, I tend to light my sacred smoke bundles with the candle, and so it's kind of a nice sequential process of I light the candle and I set my intentions, and then I start burning the sacred smoke stick with the candle. So I really like the feel of that flow, but you can do it however you want. Another thing that's really nice to incorporate into your rituals is a ritual oil. You can use ritual oil to anoint your altar tools. You can use it to anoint yourself. One of my favorite ways to use ritual oil is actually to wear it throughout the day to remind myself of intentions set during a ritual. And I will say that scents that you use during ritual take on the feeling of that ritual or series of rituals because of the way that scent is so intimately tied with memory. An example of this is several years ago, I did a sound healing training in Vermont. And during the training, the man who ran it gave me an oil blend of his. And I wish I could remember the name because it smells so good. But now, and since then, in years since then, when I put on that oil, I think of the training because the sense of smell so strongly reminds me of that time and that experience and the emotions that I had during that experience. So another thing to ask yourself, do you want to incorporate an affirmation into your ritual? This could be something like, I now call in free-flowing abundance to my life, or I freely and easily let go of anything that's no longer serving me. Anything you want, you can create as an affirmation to say during the ritual. You can also maybe read a poem, or you could read, if you have ever done the practice of writing a letter to yourself, where you're, like, dear self, this is how I feel, and this is what's going on. You can do that. If you've written a letter to someone else, it could be a forgiveness ritual, and reading this letter that you've written out loud lets you release those things. It's worth saying that language isn't necessary. If you want to create a ritual where you're just free flow in feeling, do it. Because language just really creates an anchor point for your feelings, right? It's like a mental framework for understanding and telling a story about how you feel, and that can be really valuable and really nice. Also, sometimes it's really nice just to be in the free flow without analyzing it or trying to put it to words. So a last thing to ask yourself is there any way that you want to present yourself or show up to the ritual? So this could mean wearing a special outfit, wearing a special pendant or ring that you really love. It could mean doing your hair a certain way, wearing a certain color of makeup. Dress and prepare yourself to call in the feeling that you want to have. It's all about creating a feeling and a sacred space for yourselves. So now you've answered all the questions, and at this point, you can either create your own ritual however you'd like, or I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a loose framework for how I tend to do rituals, just in case you need a little more inspiration and guidance. So I want to start off by giving you 3 personal tips that I really like to keep in mind for any ritual that I create. The first is to begin and end with gratitude. So no matter what kind of ritual you're doing, because you could literally be doing a gratitude ritual, no matter what kind of ritual you're doing, I like to begin and end with gratitude because gratitude creates this free flow of energy that I feel like allows a deeper connection with myself and with all that is, just naturally and immediately. My second tip for creating personal rituals is to be mindful that the energy that you put out is likely to be the energy that you'll receive back, right? So there's that saying, what you put out, you receive back threefold. So I always really like to keep that in mind. A phrase that I use a lot during my rituals to align with this concept, whether I'm asking for something, releasing something, asking for something to be transmuted, is that I ask for it to be in alignment with my highest path and the highest, greatest good of all. It's a really simple way to say it, but it works for me and it feels powerful to me. And that is actually the third tip, to use during your rituals the concept that what you receive or what you let go of will be that which is in alignment for you. And just having a real energy of acceptance around that this is what I like and this is what I'm doing, and I'm releasing it to my highest path and the highest, greatest good. And if it's meant for me and if it's in alignment for me, then that will be my experience. So now we're into the actual ritual. So how do you start? I mentioned earlier you can set up your altar beforehand, especially if it's a ritual you're going to do every day. But setting up your altar can be part of the ritual if that feels like a meaningful way to start for you. So regardless of how you do it, set up your ritual, set up your altar. I like to begin by lighting a candle. So I hold gratitude, I light the candle, and I set my intention as I'm lighting the candle. And maybe this is cheesy, but I kind of see it like I'm sparking and lighting into the world the intention of the ritual when I light the candle. There's definitely a conversation to be had about ethics and cultural appropriation around Palo Santo and white sage. I make sure to source my Palo Santo from companies that sustainably harvest it. Same thing with white sage. There's a woman who makes smoke bundles for my company, and she actually grows her own white sage. As far as cultural appropriation, I think if you are giving respect to the people that came before you, who used these plants in these sacred ways, who brought to you, because without their knowledge of these plants and customs with these plants, we wouldn't know to use Palo Santo or white sage, right? And so I think thanking the people that came before us, Native Americans, South Americans, who created the rich tradition of using these plants for cleansing and clearing, is a really important part of using them in your rituals. And again, sourcing them from the best place you possibly can if you feel like you need to use or want to use Palo Santo and white sage, because there definitely are alternatives. You can burn cedar, you can burn pine. The woman that I source my smoke bundles from, she uses lavender. She uses a plant called Sweet Annie, which smells really good. You can burn mugwort for dreams. There's all kinds of plants that you can use. You can burn just bundles of lavender. So yeah, that's a whole big, beautiful, interesting topic, sacred smoke. Okay. This can also be a really nice time to use your ritual oil to, again, anoint your tools, anoint yourself. You can use a ritual oil in place of sacred smoke if you'd like. That's actually an especially nice option if you're traveling, because then you don't have to light anything on fire. And using the sacred smoke or the ritual oil at the beginning of your ritual is a really nice way to cleanse and refresh and set yourself in the mood and the mindset of the ritual that you're about to undertake. If you're using crystals as part of your ritual, now might be a nice time to take one in your hand and really connect with the energy of that crystal, connect with the properties that it has, and work with it as you really feel into your intention for the ritual. So now is the time that you can say any affirmations you may have created. So let's say that we're doing an abundance ritual and the affirmation you've created is, I now call in free-flowing abundance to my life. You can just say it once, you can say it 3 times, you can repeat it like a mantra until you really feel finished with that. You can just say it as many times as you want. Again, if you're, reading a poem or a letter, now's a nice time to do that as well. If you're doing a releasing ritual where you're going to burn the paper afterwards, you can read the paper or read what you're letting go of. And so now we may have arrived at the part of the ritual, and this can be different for everyone, where you're in this sort of numinous sacred state, and you've kind of done the things of the ritual. You've lit the smoke, you've put on the oil, you lit the candle, you read the paper, you said the affirmation. And while we may think, okay, well, now I'm done, this is a really nice time to just allow yourself to be present in this altered state, because almost certainly by the time you've done all those things and really connected with your own intention, you are in a slightly altered state from your ordinary everyday reality. So that is a nice time to just really let yourself and your energy expand into that moment, see if any guidance comes to you. Maybe you have some feelings that are coming up that you just want to sit with and hold space for. Literally anything. Maybe you want to get up and dance. But I think it's really nice to take advantage of, the sacred space that a ritual creates. You can end the ritual whenever you feel complete. You may like to do something like burn more sacred smoke, or apply your ritual oil again, or do some sun salutations, anything that to you represents a transition from the sacred space that you've created back into ordinary reality. It's what I think of when I talk about this sometimes is Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, right? You start in everyday reality, a challenge comes up, and in order to confront the challenge or move through the challenge, you go on this journey, which is often into a place of non-ordinary reality. And then finally, once the journey is complete, you come out the other side and you re-enter ordinary reality, typically with more knowledge or skills or experience or whatever it was that your particular journey was about. But I really think of ritual itself as a kind of mini hero's journey, and that's one of the things that is so cool to me about ritual, is that you can do that several times throughout the day. You can go on your mini hero's journey. I mean, we're all really just on it, right? We're just on it in our everyday lives anyway, but then we can create these little moments of intentional connection with the sacred process of being a human through the process of ritual. So that's pretty cool. So I hope these tips and guidance have been helpful to you. If you feel like you're wanting a little more guidance as you're creating your rituals, I've created a printable guide. The link is down below in the description box that will walk you through the steps we just talked about and then give you that same loose framework for creating a ritual for yourself. So feel free to grab that if you feel so called. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, and of course, if you have any questions, if there's anything I didn't answer, if you want to know more, please feel free to leave me a comment. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful day.